Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me okay? I'm just waiting for your audio. Let me just double check. Sometimes my phones, can you hear me now? I'm not sure why I can't hear you. Let me see here. I'm not sure why the audio is not working. Okay, no problem. Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Can you hear me now? For some reason, I can't hear you still. No, oh, there we go. There we go.
Okay, awesome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam, Tashriq. Nice to see you. And nice to hear that. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Are you from Cape Town?
No, I'm originally from Port Elizabeth, but staying here in Johannesburg now.
Lovely, lovely, mashallah.
Yeah, I've been here for a few years. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I really appreciate you taking the time.
You know, actually, I've really been enjoying these Zoom sessions because it, alhamdulillah, gives us a chance to connect, and I've really had some amazing conversations, you know.
Oh wow, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So are you not missing PE?
Extremely, I miss the ocean.
Yeah.
I miss the ocean a lot. It's very chilled. It's very chilled over there. My wife is actually the one who was in Johannesburg first. We're both from Port Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But she ended up here first, and I'm a former professional rugby player. So I was finishing off my career overseas, and then we decided that we want to actually just be closer to home. You know, the world doesn't have much that it can offer us away from here. So we wanted to be, and the best place to be in South Africa is Johannesburg. They say it's the America of Africa.
Yes. You know, actually, it's so interesting you say that because I've lived in Pretoria all my life, and then I moved to Johannesburg, well, maybe over 20 years ago. But just last year, I moved to Cape Town because my second son is studying at UCT. So, we moved to Cape Town, but now during the lockdown, we got stuck in Joburg. So inshallah, we're waiting for the flights to reopen so we can go back. But I must say, I've been enjoying Cape Town. It's a different lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, it's a different. I did stay there for while I was studying. I was studying in Stellenbosch. So I'd go into Cape Town very, very, very often. I like it there. I don't think I'd live there, but I like it as a holiday destination.
Yes. Yeah, so rugby, that's a great journey, mashallah, man.
Yeah, I know, right? The rugby and the music, it's two very different backgrounds. So rugby, yeah, I started playing professional quite early. At the high school level, I got contracted to Stellenbosch University. From there, went on playing provincial rugby, played a little bit in France, played in the UK, and then finished off my career in Dubai, believe it or not.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you must have a lot of stories to tell with all your travels.
Yes, I do. It's a wealth of experiences and memories. You know, it's living that. I'm actually busy writing a book now called "The Muslim Rugby Player."
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the challenges and the experiences and what it was like, and some of the conflicts and all of that. So, but music has always been there. But I think because as a kid, at school, either you had choir practice or rugby practice. It felt conflicting because rugby, obviously, it's a jack sport. It's high testosterone, and going to music, I felt like it made me look soft, you know and but it's always been there. It's always been sort of like because of collaborations, people knowing that I can sing. I actually pursued it for a little bit, and then because of I almost got a, I don't know if you're familiar with Rude World Records. Got interested. They got interested in us, but then something happened. I ended up, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala basically saved me from all of that, because I ended up going in Jamaat. I ended up going 4 months, leaving that lifestyle. And the thing that scared me was the lifestyle surrounded by the sort of like the mainstream music industry. No matter how you try to keep it clean, no matter what, if you taking your musla into studio and you're working in that environment, it was just always conflicting. And that sort of, I'm just jumping into story immediately.
Go for it. Yeah. This is fascinating.
Yeah, so that's so I'd always still try to maintain my spirituality, even when I was in studio recording and whatever, in that environment, make namaz, but it just didn't gel, you know. And so retracted completely, deleted my profiles, deleted everything, stopped entirely, and feel like I went into depression. Like I trying to just leave it dormant. I felt like I went into a deep state of depression, unhappy, and then the depression led to bad things. To bad things. That space, that gap. Because my rugby was, I didn't have rugby anymore because I retired because of injury, and unable to then pursue any one of my dreams or passions, and sort of living or trying to be somebody that I'm not started to make me feel like I was going crazy. As much as I tried to rely on the spiritual teachings and implement, and did everything, went in Jamaat, did missionary work, did dawah work, went to the Haram, alhamdulillah, everything, trying to, and still it keeps coming knocking on my door. Even if I don't go look for it, it knocks on my door, and it's like, so I'm like, if other people are coming to me and wanting to be part of my team and seeing what I could achieve, and it was in just before Ramadan that it actually happened, and my wife knows the story of the past with the music, and she's scared. She's very scared of, because we have a baby now, of where it could leave my son, me pursuing this music career, but still trying to be an ibadati, but doing acoustic sessions, being in studio, performing at wherever it may be, that kind of thing. And where does it leave us in the future, and what kind of implications could it have on my son? And how he decides to digest all of that, in case he wants to do the exact same thing. Yeah, it was after dua, and really speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, crying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that saying, look, I feel like I need this. I need to be doing this thing. If it's me becoming Qari, if it's me learning Quran, what is it? How do you want me to convey? What is it? And then you came into my mind, and I'm like, why don't I message him? Although he's a celebrity and and perhaps he'll reply. Perhaps he'll reply and be able to give me some guidance on the way to it. Because I do have a team actually reignited they reignited the spark into me for wanting to go and get sort of public with it again. So and that's when I started my page again, and my Instagram again, and completely broke it away from my personal page, because I'm embarrassed, because I have pictures of me in the haram and wearing a turban and that kind of stuff on my current personal Instagram, but then I'm doing like mainstream music. singing about love with instruments, backing tracks, and so that sort of it's internal jihad, and 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 but the validation is from external people that you need to be doing this. People want to listen, and if I can make people listen at scale like you do, perhaps I can convey some sort of positivity. Yeah.
Sure. Look, that's a beautiful story, and actually, I do think that given what you've been through, given what you've achieved, both in the sporting world and now, of course, in the creative world, you definitely will have something to say, because it's not many people who get to live their dream of firstly becoming a professional sports person, traveling many parts of the world. Having those extreme experiences is unique. There was a youngster that took part in a play. I did a play in Manenberg in Cape Town. And this youngster was like you, big built, a top rugby player in his school. He was 17. And I spoke to him and I said, I want you to be in my play. So he said, no, I can't act and I can't sing. So I said, no, I want you to be in my play because I think you've got potential. So he took part in the play, and till today he says it's one of the best experiences he's ever had. And now he finished school at Menenberg, and now he's at Stellenbosch as well, and he's playing there for the university, and he's got potential. His name is Munir Hartzenberg. He's a wonderful youngster. So, but his story, like maybe your story, of following your dream and achieving, I think young people need role models. Young people need role models of people who've actually done something with their lives. They've done something, whether it's sporting, whether it's creativity. So I think if Allah has given you a gift, it's really about how you choose to use that gift. I mean, there's many paths available to you, and you have a fitra within yourself. You will know whether something is right or wrong. If you feel that it's taking you away from Allah, or if you are in an environment where you know Allah will be displeased, it's going to affect your heart. It might not be immediate, but after a while, it will build up and build up and build up. And I think the fact that you are so self-aware is a wonderful thing. You are self-aware of who you are. You are self-aware of your good, strong points, your past. Not many people reach that journey. Many people will say, this happened and it's this one's fault and it's this one's fault and it's this. Not many people will say, I did this, that I went astray, I recovered, Alhamdulillah, that's already a positive sign. So for me, my journey was very different and also very easy, because when I started singing 25 years ago about Islam in English, there wasn't anything out there. So it was very easy Alhamdulillah, it was meant to be also. It was a blessing from Allah. But when I started writing, there wasn't anything to compare it to. And there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was nothing. So I made these little cassettes. I love to sing. I still do. I love to write songs. That has never stopped. And I only do it because I love it, because it's like you. If I don't do it, after a while, I'll start feeling really, it's the thing that gives me self-awareness, and it's the thing that gives me self-validation. It's, there's a saying that says, there's two most important days of your life: the day that you are born and the day you find out why. Now, I know why I was born. When I'm in a classroom with kids, or I'm singing for my kids, or I'm writing songs, I know Allah gave me something that I need to share with the world. Alhamdulillah, you may have been given a lot more. You've already done it in the sporting world. Now you want to explore your creativity. But it's how you choose to use that. If you're going to use it, even in a small way, even if it's trying to do something good, but in an environment that's going to be bad, it may be difficult for you. And I'll share with you a challenge I have. I'm a very shy person generally, ever since I was a young child. My mother tells me that at the same time. And but with my time, I love writing songs. I love being in my studio here by myself. I love writing. But the stage is a very scary place. And the stage can, even if you're singing Islamic songs or songs inspired by your faith, the stage can lead you astray. And I've seen it happen. I've also seen it where it can become part of your ego. So even if we are singing songs that are praising Allah, we are going to have those moments where people are cheering and screaming and shouting, and even though you are singing Allah's name, but you kind of know that this environment may be not good for me. One of my teachers said to me, he said, it may be good for the organization that's called you, it may be good for the audience, but it might not be good for you. And you have to find that balance there where you have to be real with yourself, that you are not perfect. That person on stage doesn't exist. You are not a perfect Muslim the way they see you. You are just a flawed human being. Your journey with Allah is the most important thing. If it's something that's going to get you closer to Allah, alhamdulillah. If it's something that's going to take you away from Allah, stay far away from it, because you have to worry about your soul. You have to worry about your soul's journey, no one else. It's not your job to save anybody else, it's about your own journey. So my advice would be that take baby steps, inshallah. I don't know how much you've produced already. I don't know whether any of that, because again, the songs don't have to always be praising Allah and praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The songs can be inspiring in other ways. You can sing, I've sung songs about social injustice, about equality, about domestic violence. I've sung songs about mothers. So I even love, I wrote a song for my wife about love and about how, alhamdulillah, when I got married to her, my life changed. So it doesn't only, it's the most important thing is about making sure that the message is in line with the values that you live. And then the second advice I would give is be in an environment with people around you that are going to keep you sincere and focused. And it's going to be a challenge that never ends, really. Even me, I still have people telling me and keeping it real, especially my family, my mother, my father, my wife would keep it real with me to say, I think this is too much, or this is, you're overdoing it, or whatever, and purify your intention. The other thing that I can say is that I've never needed to do this for a living. I've always had other businesses. I worked with my father from a very young age. So I decided early in life that I didn't want to do this for a living. So Zain Bhikha Studios, everything I do is all part of charity. It's part of a non-profit waqf, But I know many of my friends who do this for a living. And they faced with another challenge, which is where do you fit your spirituality and your life purpose with money? Because they have to earn a living. And I know my friend Dawood Wansby has this challenge a lot because he never wanted for this to be commercial. But he has to live. And this is what he does best, So it's about finding that balance between earning, alhamdulillah, if people invite you to speak, you can accept a fee, whatever, or sing or perform, but try to not compromise on your principles, And it's a very narrow walk, my brother, and we never get off it till the day we die. And sometimes you are going to be tested more with success than failure. Failure is a wonderful teacher, but success can be a very difficult test. And so I would suggest that the other thing that I've also done is I've always remained independent. So these days with the internet, with a good studio, and you've been in studios, you can record, release it out there. I work with a wonderful company called CD Baby. CD Baby puts all my songs everywhere across all digital platforms. They take a percentage, maybe under 10%, and then they give you proper reporting and everything. But at least I own all the rights to my songs, especially since I write most of my songs, And that's important to me. And then make videos. You've got to have a presence on YouTube. Even if it's homemade videos. Like the ones I've been doing here during lockdown have been better than the ones I did, and I spent so much more money. So it's about keeping sincere. And inshallah, what I would love to do is, inshallah, maybe if you are able to come to Cape Town once this lockdown is over, I'd love for you to come and speak to the kids about your life, especially as a sports person, but then also perform some of your tracks, And I think that will give you a good experience. The best place to begin is with our youth. They are the future, but they are facing the hardest challenges. So inshallah, if me and you could maybe visit some of the schools in Manenberg, they would be so inspired to hear from you, firstly. And then maybe we could perform, let's try to do something like that, But I don't know if that answers your questions. I know it's very vague. I don't know if the advice is helpful, but that's just kind of where my journey has led me to, you know.
Jazakallah for that. It's definitely absolutely helpful. A lot of questions you're answering for me without me having to ask. I do have some more directed questions. So, like, I wanted to know what is permissible when it comes to instruments.
Okay, this is a very difficult question to answer, and because I'm not a scholar, I can't give you an opinion, but I can tell you what I have learned. What I've learned is that there are difference of opinions. Like if you speak to Mufti Menk, he'll tell you there's a difference of opinion. There are a lot of scholars who believe that all musical instruments are not allowed, right? Except the voice, except the human voice. And even the human voice, if it's done in an environment where it's not permissible, like let's say if there's liquor and there's, you know, like fornication taking place, I mean, or, you know, free mixing or whatever, then you've got to be careful. But and then there's other people who say the drums, you know, like any hand percussion, like a duff or djembe or anything. There are many very, very strong hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where at the time of the Prophet, especially during Eid, during weddings, these drums were played. And people used to celebrate and announce the weddings, announce the day of Eid. And then there's, of course, quite a few opinions where they say that musical instruments, including string instruments, are allowed, provided that the message of the song is in accordance with Islam. So I know, I'll give you an example. My friend Dawood Wansby, he plays the guitar, he uses instruments. My friend Khalil Ismail, he's a rapper from America, he uses instruments. The reason I haven't chosen to use on my own albums, I mean, when I collaborate with them, it's on their albums, I would sing, I add my voice. But on my own albums, I've only limited it to hand percussion. So anything that you can play with your hand, like a duff, which is a tambourine, a djembe, a congas, bongos, anything that you can play with the hand. And then I've also made my songs available without any percussion, only with voice. So it's voice and percussion. So if I take a melody and I write a song, the first thing I would do is put backing vocals behind it and try to put a simple beat like of a drum behind it to keep it going. The reason I have done this, Tashriq, is primarily because I want my songs to be as widely accessible as possible. So I respect both opinions. I respect the person who says they like music, and I respect the person who says they prefer no music. So I try to cater, because a lot of my songs are for kids, and I wouldn't want the parents to say, oh, this is a nice song, my mom is amazing, for example, but I don't want you to listen to it because it's got instruments. So I've tried to keep a very middle road, to try to make it accessible. Do I regret it? Do I miss the music? Not really. I'll tell you why. Because I love a cappella, I love vocals, and I love percussion. But sometimes I hear my friend Dawood Wansby's songs, and with guitar, and it sounds beautiful. So it's really a choice that you have to make. And what I would suggest is maybe consult with some scholars in your area. You know, they're all going to give you different opinions. There are difference of opinion, but I think then go with the opinion that fits your heart, because you are going to stand before Allah alone, and you are going to be held accountable for this decision. So I think see what you feel happy about. You know, the other advice I would give you is the quality of the message is the most important. So the lyrics, the message, a lot of people have, sometimes if you've got a song and you need help with tweaking the words, I love to do that. That's very easy for me. If you start something new, it's difficult. Like if you say, I want to do a new song, that takes time for me, because you know, I've got so many other things. But if there's an existing song with an existing melody that you just want me to tweak the words, that I don't mind. I did it for a friend of mine from Pretoria recently. He wrote a song and he sent me the words and his recording, and I just tweaked it a bit, and alhamdulillah, I think it helped a little. So there I don't mind. But I think the message is most important, and you've got to be comfortable with what you feel is right. I know it's not a direct answer, but I'm just giving you the opinions of everyone that I've heard from, you know.
Okay, Jazakallah for that. Okay, and then so my current team that I'm working with, it's a producer, and then it's also like a more of an operations guy, and they know the side of me, but they don't know about the conflicting side. So they know the old me that was willing to do like sort of mainstream music. I need to break it down to them now, and of how I really feel inside, and the direction I want to go. And I I am scared I might lose them, but if I do, I do. But I would like to totally be absolutely honest about it. What 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 what
Is
could you
is
tell me about?
is the style of music? Just let me know, like what is your style of music that you've done so
It's
far?
it's it's slow, like slow love ballads, but it's very acoustic, sit down, piano or guitar only.
Okay. Now, the advice I would give you is, have you ever heard of a band called Outlandish?
No,
Okay,
I'll check.
so check them out. They're a Danish group, Outlandish. Now, they are a very interesting group. So there was three band members. Lenny, who's originally of Spanish, Puerto Rican background, I think so. Then there was Waqas, who's originally Pakistani. And there was Isam, who's originally from Morocco. So but they born and bred in Denmark, so they pretty much Danish, but this was their heritage. So they formed a band and they tackled a lot of the viewpoints of minorities living in the West, essentially. Because, they're Danish, but they come, their parents or grandparents came from another country. And they were signed by Sony, so they were doing amazingly well. Their hit song was Aisha, was a song called Aisha, which was a remix of a very well-known Arabic song. And they modernized it and they made it really cool. I toured with them in Holland and I toured with them in the UK. Amazing group of guys. But they also became very aware of their spirituality. The two Muslim guys, but even Lenny, who's a Christian, who's a very, very staunch Christian. And they wanted to make more meaningful music. So their last few albums, they disbanded, unfortunately. Now they've each taken individual solo projects and they're continuing their solo projects. But their last few albums were remarkable. Lyrical content, they each spoke about their journey to God. They spoke about, but they used full instrumentation. It was, for me, one of the most hard-hitting, socially conscious. So what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't have to be flag-waving, Islamic songs. It can be strong in terms of the foundation. And so when I hear what you're saying, maybe check out some of their stuff.
Okay.
Then Isam, one of the guys, his now solo career has taken him into a very acoustic space.
Okay.
So so he's recording stuff on his own now, very spiritual. Sometimes he sings in Arabic, sometimes he sings in Danish, sometimes he sings in English, but he's producing it by himself, very, very like indie artist kind of style. So yeah. What I would do is I would try to find references like that. Not for you to mimic their music, but like just to understand, like, these are artists like me. We are strong in our faith. We are strong about our purpose, but they're doing it in their own style. And they were mainstream. Now they're doing independent. So those are the kind of people that I would try to at least not worry about their creativity, but at least look at the path they took, And if you've got a good producer, that's wonderful, because good music, I mean, works. It doesn't, as long as the message is clear, I mean, it works. And I think, as I said, combine the fact that you've got to combine your story. People love stories. You've got to combine a story of a boy who became a man, who did what you loved for so many years. You traveled the world. And now you've got another passion, mashallah. And now you're trying to use that passion, that creativity, to get your message across. And remember something, the most important thing is you got to be sincere to yourself. You may get a hit once off, or two or three or four, but you can't fool people. It has to come from your heart. and you look like the type of person who's exceptionally self-aware and sincere. So whatever you do, and don't worry about the numbers, ever, ever, ever. Don't worry about the numbers. It's not about the numbers. So don't worry about the followers, and that doesn't mean anything. The most important thing is if you love your work. I'll give you an example. The other day I was on YouTube and somebody posted a comment, and the guy said, oh bro, you know, you should step up your game. These songs of yours are 10 years old and you haven't done anything recently that's worth it. Your old songs are still the best, you know? Of course, I didn't reply. But the reason why it doesn't bother me is, I'll tell you why. It's because I don't care. The songs I've done now, I love those songs. I sing it for my kids. So he was kind of saying that the songs you're doing now are mainly for kids or whatever. But anyway, I love the stuff I'm doing. So I really don't care what anybody thinks. If I find somebody else who loves it, alhamdulillah. But if somebody tells me they don't like the new stuff, they like the old stuff, alhamdulillah. As long as I love what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing, I really do. I love it. And even if nobody listened, I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, I also want to work with the best. You know what I mean? I want to work with people who are pushing me. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. So I constantly find producers or musicians or people who I can say, ooh, like the other day I was online and I saw a brother from the UK, and I saw his stuff and I loved it. And I was like, hey, listen, I want to do something with you because I saw his potential. I was in Sierra Leone and I heard those guys there and they were amazing. So I want to push myself, but it's also about whatever you do, you've got to love it and be happy with it. That's the most important thing. And inshallah, you know what? If you're open and honest, if they are worth it for you, they're going to stick around and they're going to support you.
Inshallah. Okay. Last one that I have over here. So I know everybody has a different writing process. I haven't given my 10,000 hours to music, my 10,000 hours. You know about the 10,000 hours principle. So that is within sport, rugby, you know, and that kind of. So when it comes to the industry and how things are done, I'm super unfamiliar with how things work. I'm learning production knowledge. I have zilch. Whenever I have recorded, it's been because I've collabed with producers, somebody's got a studio, another artist, someone who raps, who needs a hook, or if I'm doing a track for myself in the studio. So my writing process is I'm usually get the melody, have the beat first, or the instrumental. Then I'll make the melody with gibberish. Because usually with the kind of music I was making, I would like something catchy where people go like stick to the one part, you know, and or that part will stick, and then I'll just do gibberishing, whatever, and then I'll slot the words in. So now with not having instruments, okay, but you answered that question first. My question in my head was, if I don't have instruments, what's your writing process? Do you write the words first? Are you telling the story first and then slot it into melody? Or are you also working the other way around by making the melody or the instrumental? And
then so this is a very good question. I mean, essentially, because I never played an instrument, you know, I never learned music from a young age. So I only could sing. I only love singing. So normally when I write, especially when I was younger, and even till today, I try to do the same, but now it has become harder for me, is I write and I sing at the same time. I don't even pick up a piece of paper yet. I'll just sing into my phone. Like I'll just have millions of, so sometimes it's just one line. Like the other day I was like, all I have is today. This moment here right now as the sun says hello, only God's in control. So I was looking out the window and I was like, tomorrow's not here and yesterday's gone. So I'm singing in my mind and I'm making up the words. And then I say, oh, that's nice. And then I'll try to write, and then I'll leave it. And then maybe I'll go back to it another time and hey, that's a nice melody. My problem now is, now I feel all my melodies sound the same. So now I kind of stop. But before I was like, everything I sang was amazing in my mind because I had nothing to compare it to. So now it's harder. So I can't write without a melody. That's very difficult. Like if I just write words without a melody, it will be very hard. But I would sing and have the melody at the same time. Then when I work with a producer, like I have a great producer here in Joburg. I work with a guy in the US, Idris Phillips, who's an amazing pianist. And he may give me melodies. So he'll take whatever I sing, he'll put chords behind it, and I'll use those chords to create vocals. But there's always a melody behind it. So it's very difficult to take just vocals and then create. There has to be some chords or some progression that I can follow with my backing vocals. So in terms of a process, like that, what I just sang now, I'll go to the studio and I'll just do a rough lead vocal. Then I'll put chords behind it, like either using Idris or my friend Craig or someone, put chords, simple chords, and they'll say, oh, why don't, instead of going to the G, why don't you go to the E minor? You know, make small changes. They'll send it back to me, I'll listen to it for a while if I'm happy with the structure, verse, chorus, or verse, bridge, chorus, whatever. And then I'll work in my studio here. And I mean, even if I'm in Cape Town, for example, I've got a laptop and I've got a small, simple sound card with a microphone, and I'll record it and I'll live with it. I'll live with it in my car. Like I'll drive around with it and I'll live with it and I'll be happy with it and I'll say, oh, and I'll try to get other people's opinions about it. And then when I'm happy, I'll start building it in my studio. So I'll get a backing vocalist, and I've got plenty. There's a guy who I work with in Joburg, his name is Teboho, he's amazing. So he'll come in with me, we'll mess around with vocals, we'll both record our backing vocals, we'll build it up. And then I've got a guy in Malaysia who's amazing at percussion. He plays all sorts of percussion. So I'll send him the track. 2 days later, he'll send it back to me. The percussion will be done. And then we mix it down. So the process has become easier because I've got a good network of people around me. But once you determine what your song, the tempo, the key, the melody, that's easy. It's getting to that stage that's hard. It's like at this stage where you only have a word or you have a concept. And in terms of songwriting, you do get better with time. You do get better with time. The problem is, as you get older, you just stop doing it. You get lazy, or you get distracted, or you just get tired. So when you're young, you have more energy, but not as much experience. When you're older, you have more experience, but you have maybe other priorities. So I have to push myself to write. I really have to push myself to write more than I used to, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's my process. So, however, coming back to what you were saying, it's not a bad idea though. If you have a piece of music that somebody has produced, and there's so many producers who I can recommend or you can work with. And then, actually there was an artist I was watching, I think it was Bruno Mars. He does exactly what you do. He would listen to the beat and just say, you know, whatever, whatever, and then slowly, maybe one or two concepts will come. So that's a great style. I know he definitely does that. And I think Ed Sheeran, who's a wonderful songwriter, does the same. He has an idea and he'll build on it, you know. And also don't be afraid to, you know, sometimes we use producers to do the music, production, etc., percussionists, other musicians, but the songwriting is a very personal thing. But don't be afraid to share your songwriting, especially with people you trust. Like I would share it with Dawood Wansby, and he'll say, why don't you change this word? Or why don't you change this? Or, you know, so if you get people who you admire, who write well, to help you with your stuff, that's also a big help.
Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah.
But again, you know, the thing is that if it's in your mind, it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So make a demo, even if it's on your phone, then add some instrumentation, then say, okay, I wonder what it will be like in a slightly higher key. Or let's say we add a bridge, or let's say we slow it down, or let's say, and then you just do, and that's what I have found in my later years now that I've got my own studio. I have that luxury. When I was starting out, I was charged by the hour and I was under so much pressure in the studio. So I would suggest, even if you get a simple setup like a computer with some recording software, a microphone, then you get a network of people you can work with, like maybe somebody who plays piano, somebody who plays guitar, and then you can send them the track, they send it back to you. Or even if you just have a melody, you know, and spend a lot of time in that stage until you're perfect, and then you can you can start the actual production.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so
and as I said, if you have any lyrical ideas, that you can just email me, inshallah. I can definitely try to help.
Subhanallah, I appreciate you opening up that door. Alhamdulillah, for me, I just have to sit down and have an instrument going, and it's not that difficult for me. Well, it's not that difficult for me to switch over into that deep state. Alhamdulillah. So usually, yes, please.
So give me an idea of something that you're really proud of, that you can just give me an idea. I would love to hear just kind of like your lyrics and your style, just anything that you really like, you the most proud of, even if it's a short piece.
Right now?
Yeah, go for it.
So the thing is, I haven't really written anything conscientious. I have written songs, but it's all been mainstream about love, about.
I just like to hear, just to get an idea of melody structure and lyrical content.
I'll do it for you. If I wrote you a poem, would you like it? If I wrote you a song, would you mind it? If I asked you for a letter, would you write it? If I recognize your beauty as enlightenment, slap me on the back of my hand. Slap me on the back of my hand. I can't stop thinking about you. Would you slap me on the back of my hand?
That's awesome. Now you see, now think about this, right? Love is the cornerstone of our faith. Love for our brother, what we love for ourselves. Love for our mothers, appreciating our parents. Love for our spouse. Love for our companions and our friends. Love for our Creator, whose love is eternal. Love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would take that emotion that you already have, that connectedness that you have with your emotion, which is a rare thing, and then connect it with the beautiful vocals that you have and the talent that you have, and try something that is, outlandish. For example, they have so many songs about, people finding, overcoming struggle, people overcoming domestic violence, whatever, finding yourself. Take that emotion that I hear in your voice and pour it in. And actually, if you've got a lot of songs and you've got a lot of melodies, which are beautiful from what I hear, try to adapt one of those songs. Mm-hmm. Take that, like whatever you just said now, and try to adapt. That might be an easy transition for you because you already got the melody. The melody is done. Try to adapt and say, if I had to take that and make it about my mom or mothers in general, what would I say? If I the other day I was thinking about my mom, right? And my mom's getting older, and you see it in her face, and you see it in in her actions, and she can't walk as fast as she used to, and she loses her her orientation, and but I remember her as the strongest person that I know, and for me she's like that perfect rose. So I wrote a poem for her called My Rose, So you can adapt your melody because now already you've got a starting point. You're not thinking from scratch. You've already got this melody. So now just think about your wife, what she does, subhanallah, how she has empowered you, and change it into something that maybe will sit with your belief system a little better, So start there. I mean, you've probably got what most people don't even have, which is already songs that you've got, that you've developed. So maybe start with that, That's what I would do.
I will do. I've got quite a few. We did a Hajib story. I did a 20-track album, and the guys lost everything. He lost everything. But there's previews left to all of those songs, so I still have the melodies. I wrote it from scratch. It was made from so alhamdulillah.
And again, creativity works is the more input, the better your output.
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting alone at home, never took any chances, never experienced much, always played safe, steady job, came home, limited your reading, limited your exposure, limited your mistakes, whatever, you're going to have less to say.
Yeah, true. I could always write songs the most better when I was heartbroken.
Exactly. It's that exceptional feeling. Like me too. Like when I was exceptionally sad and down, and when I was exceptionally elevated, when I was on Hajj, for example, and I was so inspired and I was so close to Allah. So it's those extremes. So the more input you have, so the fact that you've traveled, what are the lessons you've learned? If you had to write a song for your son, what would you say to him? What is the lesson the greatest lessons that, some of the nicest songs are the songs written from fathers to sons. If you had to write a song to your 16-year-old self, what would you say? Start with those words. What would you say? This is where I am now. And you're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to travel the world. And you're going to think you found what you think you were looking for. But that's not it. Because what I found now is what I was searching for. So these are all, and remember, you may think that people won't really find your story impressive, or they may not really, it might not resonate with you, but all we have is our stories. And the reason it resonates with others is because we are human beings. So we may not be able to associate with your exact pain, the reasons, or your exact circumstance, whatever. But we can resonate with pain because we felt it in different ways. We can resonate with love. We can resonate with being heartbroken, even though your circumstance might be entirely different. So if you write from the heart, inshallah, Allah will give you barakah. Remember, Allah only expects us to do this little effort. The rest is up to Him. So there's one of my most favorite Turkish sayings is, throw a flower down a ravine and hear it echo in eternity. Your little song is like that flower. You might think it's so insignificant, and it's going into this huge, like, gorge. What influence can it have? What difference can it make? But it's not the point, it's your flower. And you don't know where the repercussions, the ripples, how many people it will affect around the world, subhanAllah. So you throw the little flower, inshallah, Allah will do the rest.
Ameen, inshallah. Jazakallah so much for this.
No, Tashriq, only a pleasure. So I'm going to tell Ibrahim, you can email me anytime, inshallah. He'll share with you my email address. And please, if you come to Cape Town, just message me, and then maybe I can arrange some visits for the Leadership College. There'll be some schools who'll be so happy to have you speak to the kids. And maybe you can perform as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. I'll send Ibrahim a link to my channel where I speak about my road, transitioning from being a player into coaching, because I also coach rugby. So, and there's some of my accolades and that kind of stuff there. So I'll send it through, and then definitely I'd love to absolutely do that. My wife's never been, and it was on the cards to come to Cape Town. I've been many times. We've got family over there. So inshallah, jazakallah so much for this.
Only a pleasure. And remember, the main thing is start with just one song. Just do the one song first. Get your best melody, the one that resonates with you, that fits a subject matter that you want to talk about. Start piecing words together. If you've got something flowing, if you've got some ideas, send it to me, and I'll see if I can help wherever I can, inshallah.
I appreciate that so much.
Okay.
Do you mind if I take a picture of us on this?
Oh no, I'm recording this. I'm going to send this entire thing to you.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
I'm going to send, and if you don't mind, we might post this up as well, because you brought up such amazing things.
I don't mind at all.
Yeah, but we can take a picture as well, no problem.
Okay, let me just get video quickly. Jazakallah so much.
But Ibrahim will share the whole link with you, inshallah.
Okay. Jazakallah.
Awesome. Thank you, Tashriq. Give salams to your whole family, and I hope to see you soon in Cape Town.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam alaikum.